Welcome third years. Welcome third years to my first genetics lecture. Now, you may not know me, but I am Caroline, or your TA for genetics under Professor McGonagall. Now, really quickly, we're going to go over pedigrees. Now, right here, we have a pedigree of one of the most famous families, the Potter/Weasley family. Everyone knows Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Now, as you can see, we have females and males designated by the circles and squares respectively. And we have a trait. Pedigrees show whether or not someone has a trait or someone doesn't. Now, if someone has a trait, it's colored in, just like the Potters. If they don't have the trait, then it's blank, just like the Evans and Dursleys. Okay, now, pedigrees also show how a trait is inherited. Now, can someone tell me right off the bat the inheritance? Yes, you are correct. It is autosomal recessive. Now, how do we know that? Let's go through it. Let's start with a family that has the trait and also doesn't have the trait. Let's start with the Grangers. So Hermione Granger, we see, has magic. Now, if magic is recessive, it is going to have the lowercase allele, as we discussed in a previous class, which means being a muggle is going to be a dominant trait. So Hermione Granger, because she has the trait, she has to be lowercase. She is homozygous recessive. Now, her parents both have at least one dominant allele. Now, in order for Hermione to become a witch, they could each pass on one recessive allele, and that's how that works. It can't be dominant because, well, if they were both recessive and Hermione was dominant, they wouldn't be able to pass on a dominant allele in order for her to be a witch. Now, for X-linked, X-linked means that the allele is located on the X chromosome. And as you know, females have 2 X chromosomes and males have 1. So for X-linked dominant, Hermione would have a dominant allele, considering dominant would be a magical trait. However, with both of the Grangers, they would have all the recessive alleles. So they would not be able to pass down that dominant allele through their X chromosome. For X-linked recessive, now we see that Hermione would have the recessive allele on her X chromosome, but the Grangers would all have dominant alleles. Now, because Mr. Granger would pass on his only X chromosome, that means that Hermione would have to be a muggle, and since she's not, that does not work. Now, for Y-linked, that means that the allele that codes for the trait is on the Y chromosome, and the only people that have Y chromosomes are males. And as you can see on this pedigree, there are many females, such as Ginny Weasley, or Angelina Johnson, or Lily Potter, that all have X chromosomes, and they still have the trait. Does anybody have any questions about modes of inheritance and pedigrees?